Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of San Diego's longest running LGBTQ pop culture podcast. I am your who invited her? That's who we are.
What are we doing?
What are we doing? Hello. Who invited her? I am your host, Tony. I'm here with my other host.
I'm Daddy Bear Eric.
And you guys, Bryn is not here this week.
Wait, this isn't Bryn?
No, it's not. I know, she had a little bit of a glow
best.
up. But you guys, I am super excited for today. I have been talking about doing this episode for a while. Eric knows.
Yes, I do know.
We have local singer-songwriter, drag queen, Flamy Grant is here.
I'm so excited to be here.
Whoops, that's not, there you are. So is our audience. Do you hear them?
Yeah.
There's
Yes.
You like me? You really like me?
And the kids
The
love
kids
you.
are- Careful.
Yeah,
People are going to
careful.
be pissed if their kids
Oh,
here.
fuck it. They're right now listening to us anyways. Yes, you guys, we have Miss Flamy Grant in the house. I'm very excited about this episode because, one, I have been talking about you coming on the show for a few episodes.
We've been talking every time we run into each other.
Yeah, I'm like, when are you coming on the
Already not
show?
gonna
We got to
show
get you
up.
on the show. So Flamy actually just released her, is it your first like full debut album?
Yeah, it's Flamy's first full debut album.
Because
I've been a musician my whole life, but this is Flamy's.
Because I first heard of you with A Girl Boy.
Yeah, that's right.
There was another musical venture you did, and you actually the last song you did with Girl Boy was with 2022, right?
Yeah,
It wasn't that long
And
ago.
actually, we are Girl Boy is dropping we're calling it our last EP because I'm moving and we don't know what the future of Girl Boy is going to be. But our last EP comes out at the end of, beginning. No, it's already out. It's already out. I forgot what day it is.
And you do that with a lesbian rapper Haley Hill.
Haley
who-
Hill.
Yeah,
Yes,
she's great.
The girl rapper.
She's
Yep.
fantastic.
She's a little white girl from Sonora, California.
But she can throw down some rhymes.
She can absolutely do it. Absolutely spit some
So
rhymes.
your album, Bible Bout Baby.
I like Baby Belt.
Baby Bout. You know what I kept calling it in my head? Barbie Bout Baby is what I kept saying in my head.
Well, it was inspired from Backwoods Barbie.
That's what I was wondering.
Dollies.
because
Yeah.
Even
I
the
even-
cover art is
I wanted to recreate the cover art because she's sitting in that
Yeah.
truck in her leopard with her pink.
As you guys see, it's right there,
look at that,
there
it's
on the
right
screen.
there. You were so prepared. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's start. We have a lot to get into with Flamy.
Yes.
So first off, so everybody knows this is like really the first full Christian pop album from a drag queen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
And that
you were
usually
just
is
nominated.
followed by crickets.
Right.
Because people are like, huh? What?
Yeah, and you were just nominated for a 2023
Yes.
San Diego Music Award for the album.
And I lost.
Hey, you got nominated.
Hey,
That says a
yeah.
lot.
I know. And I think I asked them, actually, I asked San Diego Music Awards, is this the first drag queen that's ever been nominated? And they're like, we don't know. And I was like, well, you would know. So I'm telling everybody I'm the first drag queen
We're gonna
ever
we're gonna-
nominated for
we're
San
gonna
Diego
stick
Music
to
That's a
Awards. So-
yes to
Yeah,
me.
right?
That's an
I don't know
absolute
as a
yes.
yes.
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah.
You would
So-
know if you had a drag queen before.
Let's start from the very beginning, which is a very good place to start.
very
Well,
good.
actually, I want to start with something. I actually have history with you because you used to work with my brother, Manny, at the Globe.
Yep.
Who
I
has
sat
been on the
right
show.
behind him. Right behind
my
him.
evil twin
I'm
sister.
sorry.
I know, right?
Yeah, you guys used to work
No,
together.
we
at
used
the
to
Globe, yeah.
Manny's very good at the side eye.
That's not all
So
he's good at. Ask the trails of Balboa Park.
Anytime, drama was going down at the Globe,
Yeah.
like Manny would just turn around.
She's
and I'd
a
be
catty
like, "Oh,
bitch,
we got some tea to spill right now." So,
Oh,
no, that
okay.
was really fun. I liked working right behind Manny because I just needed that energy. Because
Yeah.
theater world is it's like drag world actually.
It
There's
is.
just lots of drama.
I did
Theater
theater
is
for
drama.
for many, many years, and that's why I took a break from it and was like, I'm doing my own shit. And that's how the podcast started.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
That's why I'm a drag queen.
Yeah. So let's start from the beginning. So Flamy started during COVID, right?
Yeah, she kind of did.
But let's even go back before that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how you grew up because that influenced a lot of your music and everything. So you are not originally from San Diego. You're
No.
from South Carolina.
North
Carolina. Sorry.
Yeah, and North Carolinians are very snobby about South Carolina. We're
Yeah.
like, we think we're the better Carolina, so it's always important to point that out. I'm from North.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but just like me, you grew up very religious.
Super fundamental evangelical.
Yeah.
Like the people who brought us Trump. Thank you.
Right,
Yes,
right.
those were my people. Sadly.
And I grew up Jehovah's Witness, born and raised, and then left the religion in my early 20s. So I think that's why, especially Flamy Grant, the persona of Flamy Grant, and the album really resonated with me a lot, especially. Why not? See, I'm going off track because I wanted to save the album review.
Yeah,
I'm like so
save it,
excited.
Jody.
Well, first of all, I want to say my favorite is Esther Ruth and Rehab. This is my favorite song on the album.
That's one of my top ones,
Yes,
too.
it was like.
Yes.
But okay, let's
I
do
know.
the album in the second half.
Stop fangirling.
I know. I'm so bad at that. Okay, let's start. How was it growing up in North Carolina? In the religious, that strict of a religious.
Well,
background.
it's like they say on Truman Show, like you accept the reality of the world with which you're presented, right? So I didn't know anything beyond my super strict fundamentalist upbringing. We weren't allowed to listen to all my friends were listening to Britney Spears and Christina and the Backstreet Boys, and I just didn't even know who those people were because I was only allowed to listen to Christian music. I was very limited in TV I could watch. Like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were off the table. Like they were bad. Like Simpsons was bad. So we watched Touched by an Angel.
Seventh
That's
Heaven.
what I was allowed to. It's the Seventh Heaven. Yeah,
Seventh
exactly.
Heaven.
So
we weren't even allowed to watch that because it was based on a different religion than Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah.
Wow.
We had a little touch of that too. Like Catholics, we were like Catholics aren't real Christians.
Same. And even like other like regular Christians, we weren't allowed to even associate with that. Wow. We only stayed within the congregation, and that was it.
It's such a bubble. They've done a really good job at creating their own version of everything, right?
Yeah.
So like anything you can experience, quote unquote, in the world, you can get like the Christian version of. Yeah. And so you never have to encounter.
So when you were a young kid growing up in that environment, when did you start realizing, wait a minute, I'm a little different?
I feel a tingle that none of the other boys are talking about right now.
I mean, early. It was really early because I had like, I think I knew by fourth grade that I liked boys, but I didn't even know the word gay yet. Like I didn't know what gay was. I just knew that like, I knew I was different. Yeah. So really early. And, by high school, I had figured out what homosexuals were.
Homosexuals. And I wonder if you had the same, like when I was dealing with the religion and realizing, wait a minute, I don't really fall in line with all of these beliefs. Yeah. Did you go hardcore into the religion to make up for?
Oh, absolutely. I had to be like the best Christian. Like that was my whole goal. I want to be the golden boy. I want to be the one nobody has, because you're trying to avoid anybody asking the question, right? Like, so if I'm super Christian, then they can't suspect I'm gay, right?
Yeah. You're trying to get all fingers not pointing at you.
Exactly.
I grew up Catholic and I won the religion award in high school, and my parents almost fell over. Like, how is this possible? Because but I wanted to know everything about it. Also to counter argue as well, because I was that guy. I wanted to counter argue.
You're very much, that's the Capricorn in you.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to argue everything. Yeah. So I
you
knew
all the doctrines,
their side as well.
Well, the kind of the same with you, Flamy, right? Because I
won the award too. My senior year, it's called the Citizenship Award, and it was like basically the best Christian award.
Yeah. And you went to a Christian high school,
Christian college. Yeah, all of it.
Wow.
Then I worked for a church in my 20s. Like, I
and
didn't
then
get out for
what
a while.
brought you to? Well, you came to San Diego in 2006, and you were doing
someone did her research.
I don't play around. Unless I've been a fan of yours for a while, so I know your story pretty well. Why do people act so surprised when I'm like?
Because sometimes I don't even remember what year I moved to San Diego.
It's really funny you say that, because we had oh God, now I can't remember. This other singer, really blonde, Spencer Day came on, and I was a really big fan of his music, and I was like, well, when you were little, you were on Star Search, and he was like, huh? I don't even remember that I did that. And he's like, wow, you did your... I'm like, what do you... Of course it's
because we're professional here at Who Invited Her.
Exactly.
We know exactly who invited her.
You came to San Diego in 2006 because you were doing a church plant.
Yeah,
Like
I was a
group
church
here.
planter, and if
And
you
you
don't know what that means,
What does that mean?
congratulations.
I don't know what that
It
means.
just means somebody who comes to start a brand new church.
And you started a
okay.
church here
Yeah,
where
I
you
did.
were running it
I
downtown
was-
San Diego.
I was on the leadership team. I was the worship leader. There was a pastor and his wife and me and an administrator, and we had like 100 people for 5 years. We had a church of about 100 downtown.
Yeah.
In a couple different places, in a school in Little Italy, and then in like
Wow.
this event space in East Village. And it was going great for a while.
Yeah.
And then like that was the period of my life when I was kind of like wrestling and dealing with my sexuality and my identity.
How old were you at that time?
I was 20.
early 20s. Probably.
Yeah, it was mid 20s when all that was happening, and then
Yeah.
I fully came out at 28.
Okay.
And so
and you say you're a late bloomer.
Yeah.
When it comes to coming out and your whole journey with self
Yeah.
and all of that. So you came out at 28, which is
Yeah.
really late.
Yeah,
for
it's
s-
for,
well,
for
considering.
for someone who grew up in the 80s, it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
most of my peers came out much earlier, and it's because of the evangelicalism. Like that's why it took me so long. And
Yeah.
when I did come out, it created a bit of a divide, a bit of a rift in our church, and I basically got fired. They were like, well, you signed this document of purity when we started the church, and we don't think this is pure, so you have to step down. And I was like, okay, bye.
How long did it take you to get to the realization and the comfortable with yourself to actually come out, knowing the backlash you're gonna get
Yeah.
from the church that you grew up in?
I mean, this is why I talk about it like it's a cult, and really do believe that I don't think all Christianity is a cult, but I do think what I grew up in.
Same.
It's a
Jehovah's
cult.
Witness.
Yeah.
It's a cult.
Yeah,
It's a cult.
it's because of the restrictions around leaving and the fear that is instilled of you around leaving. They try real hard to make you. They use every angle to make you stay,
Yeah.
and the biggest, most powerful angle is fear.
Yeah.
So they tell you you're gonna end up in a gutter. People are gonna the whole world's out to get you.
Yeah.
We're the only ones who understand you. We're the only ones who love you.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to leave something like that.
It really is. I know within the Jehovah's Witness, you get disfellowshipped, which you get shunned from the congregation. So,
Yeah.
and that's only if you're baptized. I knew I was going to leave that religion when I hit, I think 17. I was like, nope. And
So you never got baptized?
I knew like when the elders started to come and be like really approach the subject of being baptized, I was already almost out of high school. And I was like, I know my gut is saying no.
Yeah.
So I never did. And I ended up fully leaving the religion like at 23, around
Yeah.
22, 23.
Yeah.
But even though I wasn't baptized and didn't get disfellowshipped, literally after me and my Manny came out, everybody we grew up with in the church, we lost all our friends. Everybody stopped talking to us.
It's a total shunning. That
Yeah.
is, I mean, we didn't use the word shun in evangelicalism, but it's the same practice.
Yeah.
We have the communion table. That's the big thing in our tradition. I grew up Plymouth Brethren, which if you know what that is, I'm sorry. But it's all about like sharing communion, and that's what gets withheld if you're bad or whatever, if they decide you're sinning. And so that was the scary thing for me, is like, oh my God, I'm not gonna be able to take communion with my spiritual family.
Yeah, and that's like public shaming.
It's very public.
Yeah.
And they talk about it in the service too. They'll be like, I remember this girl got pregnant outside of wedlock when I was a teenager, and they sent everybody, all of the kids 12 and under, out of the room, and I had just turned 12, so I could stay. And they were like, I'll call her Cindy. Cindy is not with us this morning because she's pregnant, and she's not allowed to be here anymore. Yeah, like
It's
they
the same
talk
thing.
about
Yeah.
it.
They announced like it in front of the whole congregation with Jehovah's Witnesses during one of the meetings, and they'd say this such and such is no longer a part of the congregation. They've been disfellowshipped. And the kicker to me was always, if you got caught talking to a disfellowship person, you can get disfellowship.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't that crazy?
It's like the association even
Yeah.
it's wild. And so to see that as a 12-year-old, I was like, oh, I never want to be in
Yeah.
that position. I got to be the best Christian. I got to
So when you came to San Diego, what was the catalyst for you to coming out? Like what was, because there's always that turning point of, you know what, I am okay with the consequences.
Yep.
What was that for you?
Yeah, I found a few people who were talking. There's thankfully, lots of scholarship around the Bible and around, we call them the clobber passages. There are 6 passages in the Bible where people have used to like oppress and harm queer people, right? And say like, this is where the Bible says that you're a sinner. And now there's plenty of evidence and scholarship around why that's all bullshit. But at the time there wasn't a lot, and I found one guy who was doing that work and just kind of followed his work, and then did some research of my own, and I kind of came to those conclusions on my own that the Bible wasn't condemning me for who I am.
Yeah,
right.
And I found other Christians. I started to. That's just what happens when you get out in the world, right? Like there's all kinds of versions of Christianity, and some Christian like branches have been LGBTQ affirming forever. Like Episcopalians are really rad with gays. Like a lot of the Methodists love the gays. Like so it's being exposed to all these other ways to be spiritual that made me realize, wow, I really did get brought up in a cult. And so when I came to that conclusion really with the help of a couple books and things like that, but mostly on my own. I was like, no, like I'm okay. I'm loved. I'm holy. I'm good. And I'm gonna be gay now.
And then you still continued in the church, but not the church you grew up in.
Yeah.
Even to the fact where the pastor you wanted you to do a sermon in drag, right?
Yes. Which is kind of how Flamy's whole thing
on TikTok.
happened.
You did that 60-minute video. See, I know too much about your life.
Too. I love it. It was. So I found a progressive church that was very LGBTQ affirming, and now I'm at a place kind of in my life where I don't go to church anymore, and I'm really happy with that.
Yeah.
Like it just took me a long time to get out. So there's phases and there's steps, and I found that progressive church where I could feel at home and find community. And the pastor. This was early pandemic, and I had started doing drag I went out a couple times in drag before pandemic, just for parties or whatever, and was I had a lot of fun, but I was very busy, and suddenly pandemic happened. Then I had all this time back, and I could play and explore, and so I started doing drag online with my housemates. We did little concerts during pandemic to keep people entertained, and then my pastor, who we were doing virtual church out of our basement, and so my pastor was like, "Hey, would Flamy want to give the sermon one week?" And I was like, "What does a drag queen giving a sermon even look like? I have no idea." So I made a TikTok video to practice and see, and I was like, "Oh, okay, cool, yeah, that'll work. I can do this." And I posted it and didn't think anything about it. And I woke up the next morning and like I had 50,000 followers, and like it was the first time I've ever experienced anything going viral.
Yeah,
and so you kind of take those cues from the universe, like
exactly,
and the universe is saying like, hey, there's a whole bunch of people out here who relate to a drag queen talking about like the spiritual journey. And that's kind of the rest is history.
When did you meet your partner?
We met at the end of 2014.
Was that when you came back to San Diego? Because you moved away to St. Louis, right? I'm sorry.
I'm blinking. I'm being stalked.
And your social security number is.
I love it. This is so great. I don't have to do all the backstory because it's there. But yes, I did. I moved my first boyfriend. I moved to St. Louis for.
And and it didn't end well. And
I just turned the mic over to Tony, who's going to tell my story, and I'm going to sit here and watch. Yeah, no, it was bad.
Now I'm turning red because I'm embarrassed.
I love it. I was there for like 9 months, and it was my first real relationship in my whole life, and I was head over heels, and I had bought rings. I was ready, and he cheated on me, and I talking from experience, that first relationship you get into when you leave the religion. It hits you
go hard.
Yes.
You go hard.
It hit, and then that
because
breakup.
you're in a way you're kind of replacing.
Yes.
Like your whole community, your
God,
whole life
so
was absorbed in
right.
church, and now you I'll just put it all on you. And so to that end, like part of it I will own up to because I totally had a codependent relationship with this person that was not healthy, and I didn't see it at the time, but he still fucking cheated, so fuck that.
Yeah, fuck that.
Yeah.
And now your partner who actually works here in Hillcrest at HBC, I see him all the time.
Part of the fam.
Yep.
Yeah, Chris. We met. I literally went out with my friend one night, and I was like, okay, we're gonna go to HBC and meet me a boy, and then we'll go to Gossip and meet you a girl.
Yeah.
And we did, and we both met somebody. She didn't end up staying with
No.
her.
But here you, Chris.
Still, we got married. We made it official. We're just a boring suburban gay couple now.
Nothing
with
wrong
a
with
dog.
that. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So
He's a good one.
let's talk about let's get into the music part because you started off. Was it in 2018 is when Girl Boys started, or was it sooner than that?
It was actually sooner. It was like kind of around the same time I met Chris, or before actually.
Yeah.
We did. Oh, actually, we did our very first Girl Boys show for New Year's of 2014, 2015, which is when I met Chris, and that was actually my third date with Chris was the Girl Boys show.
Oh wow,
Very cool.
Yeah.
Have you always written music even as a kid?
Yeah, my whole life. Well, since 9. I wrote my first song when I was 9 years old. Brought
The
it
religious
upstairs
one,
to
right?
Mom.
The
Oh, yeah.
love-
I could
love-
still sing it
Yeah.
to you.
Were you
It's
in
terrible.
Do it. I want to hear
Oh
it.
my God. Lord, your love is so powerful. That's it. That's all you get.
Love it.
But I took that upstairs to my mom, and you know, she was proud, and so yeah, I've been writing songs ever since. So it just made sense when I started doing drag, like to fold the songwriting into that. But
So how did you develop? Wait, let's go back to Girl Boy.
Girl Boy.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. So how did you hook up with Haley Hill, girl rapper?
We met through church. I was going to a church mission gathering here at the time, and she that's right when I moved back from St. Louis.
Okay.
Met her, and we did karaoke one night, and I had never done karaoke, so we went to Red Wing, and of course,
Red
come
Wing,
on,
yes,
so
Red
fun.
Wing, yes.
And we did Drunken Love, and she made me do Beyonce, and she did Jay-Z's part, and it was there's video evidence that it was terrible, but we were drunk enough to think that it was amazing.
Oh, that's the best.
So we were
That
like,
is the
we
best.
have to do this is a band. We have to be a band. We're so good. Fortunately, we got better when we weren't drunk, but we did. Like that night, we were kind of like the sparkle hit our eye. And we were like, let's make a band.
Because the album came out, the EP came out in 2018. Because you had, I forget the song that I was religious about on that. It was like gay. I'm super gay or something.
Gay
like
as fuck.
Gay as fuck. That was the song that's on my. Because I have a playlist called "Songs to Peel Carrots To," and that song is on that playlist, and that's the one I go when I'm on my like walk runs through the park. It comes on. Yeah.
Just peel that carrot, baby.
That is really
gay as
random,
I
Tony.
know.
I love it. Yeah, that was actually our second album. We had one
it?
that
Okay.
I produced our first album. Don't go looking for it. It's not great. It was my first attempt to produce music. But the second album, we hired somebody, and it's good. It still
legit.
holds up. It
I
still holds
remember
up.
I found that album because Manny was like, "You need to check it out. You need to check it out."
That's
and
so
yeah.
good. Thanks, Manny.
Yeah.
Thanks for spreading the gospel of Girl Boy. Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys did. There was one other one you did in 2022. I wanted to ask if it was based on one of the parents. It was a little heavier song.
Oh yeah. That day.
That day, yes.
It is. And I don't want to tell too much of Haley's story because it is her story, but she did lose her mom to suicide.
Oh, okay, I always
Yeah.
wondered about that song because it's a great song, you guys, and it's very sad.
It's powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's one of the most resilient, fabulous people I know, and I'm just so proud of her. And she's put her whole heart out there into these songs, and she's making her own music now
Yeah.
as well. So go follow the girl rapper.
Yes.
And she's got fabulous music out. But yeah, that song was for her mom, and
Wow.
it makes me cry too. Yeah.
So when it came to Flamy Grant, how did the concept
It's
of
one of
your
the best names.
I know, and I love
If
a
you
drag
get it,
pun
it's one of the
name.
best
Yes.
names.
Right.
And I love a drag pun name.
Right,
It's
me
like
too.
like Lisa Carr,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
all of that.
Yeah.
I love the ones I cannot stand is like Michelle, something like their real name. Like
Yeah. I know, right? No, be fun with it. Like you're
Yeah.
creating something brand new. So
Yeah.
like have
So
fun.
how did the concept of Flamy Grant start?
Well, it started literally with that because we were watching Drag Race one night, Chris and I turned to him and I said, "What would your drag name be?" And he was like, "Amanda, do it." he already he already had it.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, shit, I don't have one. And I love the puns. And I especially love ones that are named after somebody else. You know, Shaka Convict or Tina Burner, that kind of thing. So I was like, well, I mean, my diva was Amy Grant. So I just kind of noodled with it for a second. And when I said it out loud, he laughed.
Yeah.
And Chris has none of the religious trauma I do, none of the like evangelical background. And I was like, hold up. If somebody who didn't grow up with this shit thinks it's funny, then I know there's a whole generation of like church youth group kids who are going to live it.
Yes,
So,
I did when I first saw. I was like, because I remember Baby, the I want to say Flamy Grant, Amy Grant album came out. We were allowed to listen to her because she was on the spectrum of like good, wholesome American music. Yeah. So that's why.
Although I will say, one Christmas I got her album House of Love one Christmas, and we put it in the tape. It was a cassette tape deck in the car on the way to church, and the first song is Lucky One, and they're about 4 bars in, and my mom turns to me and she's like, this is not about Jesus, and she turned it off. So that was the only time that Amy Grant got canceled in my house.
And now she's Flamy Grant. Have you ever heard from Amy Grant?
I haven't yet, but I do know she knows about me.
Yes.
And
That's kind of awesome.
So first of all, there is I tell everybody about this because if you are even remotely an Amy Grant fan, there's a Gay Friends of Amy Grant secret Facebook group that you need to join. Because it's the best. Like these kids are. It's all the kids who grew up in church and couldn't be gay until they were older, and now we just have a blast like fangirling over Amy Grant in our secret Facebook group. But where was I going with this? Oh, does she know about me? Yeah. So I found out recently that her manager has been getting messages from like Amy Grant fans saying you need to send a cease and desist to this drag queen.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
right?
how you know you made it.
I guess I have riled up Amy Grant's fan base apparently.
But I wonder if Amy Grant's like, you know what?
Well, that's
flattery
the thing.
is what
that's
is it?
The thing. Her manager, I probably shouldn't even be spilling any of this tea because I really want to. I really want to meet Amy Grant.
It's
I really
just
want to
us in this room.
It's just
nobody's
us.
listening.
But no, her manager said like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna. We wish Flamy success. Like was basically what she said. So Amy Grant is a total ally now. I think she was probably an ally her whole career. It's just in Christian music, it's really hard to be vocal about that. Yeah. But she's been really vocal about it in the past couple of years.
Oh, good.
Her niece, her lesbian niece, got married on the farm, and she took a lot of shit for that. Yeah. And she said, you know what? I love those girls, and in Christian speak, she basically told everybody else to fuck off. Yeah. She didn't say fuck off.
And you brought it up a little bit ago about trauma, like this religious trauma. Why, when it comes to Flamy Grant and the music you put out, that is such an important message for you to get out there. Why that mission statement?
Yeah, because it took me so long to get over my trauma, and hours of therapy, so much time in group therapy, church therapy, all kinds of like situations I've tried to. Yeah. Girl, I was in Exodus, which is conversion therapy to, change yourself straight. Yeah. I self-enrolled in that shit because I believed.
Whoa.
Yeah. Wow. I self-enrolled in conversion therapy because I believed so hard that who I was fundamentally was, like an abomination to God, and I needed to change that. Yeah. So it's that motivates me and compels me because I know there are still kids growing up in those environments where they're being sheltered, they're being kept, they're given the Christian version of everything, and they're told that the biggest lie I think that the church tells is that you're a sinner, you're not worthy. Right? Because the whole point, the whole power structure of Christianity is built around you need to be saved by Jesus. Yeah. You need the blood of salvation, all that blood imagery and all of it. Like you need that. And so we're taught from the youngest of age that we're like gross to God. Like God looks at us and is like, ew. And thank goodness Jesus came to save you because otherwise God couldn't have anything to do with you. And that's a terrible thing to grow up believing about yourself.
The trauma that does to somebody.
That alone is the root, I think, of all of it.
A lot. Because I even know, like, when I was young, like, I'm sure if maybe you did the same thing, like, prayed your god dang heart out and not getting a sign, and then realizing later in life that was a sign. There was nothing wrong with you.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
how long that took to get to that point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How
a
is
good 2 decades for me
Yeah.
of that kind of processing. And that's why, once I did get that signal from TikTok that there are people out there who resonated with what Flamy wanted to do, I was like, well, I'll just go all in, and that will be my message. Like telling kids, you're good, you're worthy, you're loved, you're holy. I love you. God loves you. Fuck what these other people are saying. Like, be yourself.
And what you just said, God loves you.
Yeah.
And that's the main thing that I think when it comes to these organized religion and they use as fear is that you're not loved by God. You are the exception. He doesn't want you.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yep, exactly.
And that is trauma right there, growing up with that. Yeah. How is your relationship with religion now?
I think if it weren't for Flamy, I would be completely out of there.
Yeah.
Like, I would be very new agey and spiritual for sure.
Yeah. And there's a difference between religious and spiritual.
Yes,
for sure. For
exactly.
people. Yeah.
Yeah. But the reason I keep a foot in like that Christian world is because I just feel like there are so many people who are ready for that message in Christianity, right? And they just need somebody to kind of tell them. And drag queens historically have been on the forefront of all kinds of social movements, and I think the church was ready for a drag queen to like. And it's not just me. There are actually several drag queens out there now who are doing this kind of work within church spaces. So yeah. I personally have just my own spirituality and practice that I do, but it's not very Christian necessarily, but I say Flamy Grant is the Christian. Like my drag persona is the Christian, and that's why she can stand in that space.
Is there I know when I talk to other people who have grown up super religious, there's a real big struggle of what parts of that religion that is grained into you do you still keep as an adult and as a gay person? And how do you pick and choose? Did you go through that phase of, and even now look back and go, you know what, this is stuff that I grew up with and I still keep it and hold it.
Yeah.
Part of the religion.
Honestly, there's not a lot anymore. One of the things, and I basically was a worship leader in a church, in various churches for 20 years. So music for me, it has always been like this kind of immediate access point to spirituality. And so I still do hold on to a lot of the music I grew up with, even though some of it's, like I don't necessarily agree with the theology of it anymore, but it's just powerful. Like when music has been with you since you were a kid, it can that song can come on and it can just transport you instantly.
Do you get triggered by any of it?
I do. Yeah,
I do
some
too.
of it triggers me.
Yeah, I remember there's a song. Jehovah's Witnesses had their own songbook. It was like their own, and I forget where it was. Somebody sang like a bar of a song that they knew, and I got like that pit of the feeling, and I was like, oh my God, this is still affecting me this many years later.
Well, you know what I did a lot in my last church, the most progressive church I was involved in, was just rewrite old hymns. Like I don't know if
love
that song,
that's a great
Be
idea.
Thou My Vision. I don't know if you know that one. We rewrote that and made it all about intuition and like your own discerning spirit rather than some deity telling you how to
Would you ever do an album where it is like church hymns rewritten to make it more like your viewpoint of it, of how it should have been done?
That's a great idea.
I might need a little more distance from it before I do that.
Yeah, because I could see that being triggering.
Yeah, like I might need to have like a staff therapist at that point, just like in the studio with me, be like, okay, we're gonna go into Amazing Grace now. How's everybody feeling? But no, maybe that. But I kind of feel like some of my music already is that. A couple of the songs on the record are songs that I wrote for my last church. Yeah. Before Flamy even existed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we would sing them in our church. Good Day and
Don't give it away. We're going to talk about it.
Oh, we're going to talk about it. That's right. We're not to the album yet.
But we will be, because why? We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to dive into the Bible Belt Baby album of Flamy's, because I have
the Barbie Belt Baby.
Yeah, Barbie Belt Baby. Because I have questions about how the songs came about and your lyrics for a lot of the songs. I mean, it's a really good album. And I'm not just saying that to blow sunshine up your ass. I really am a fan of the album. So, you guys, we will be right back.
Wait a second. Do you hear that? It's the sound of your wallet crying out for help because you need a great hosting service for your podcast, but don't want to break the bank. Well, have no fear, because Blueberry Pro Hosting is here to save the day. And not only that, they are offering our listeners a special deal. That's right, with the code WIH, you can get your $100 Blueberry Pro Hosting setup fee waived. And don't worry, their support team is always available to answer any onboarding questions you might have. So, what are you waiting for? Get your podcast hosted with Blueberry Pro Hosting today and start sharing your stories with the world. And remember, use the code WIH at checkout to get your setup fee for free. Thanks for listening.
Hey everybody, we're back with more Flamy Grant. We have refilled drinks. We were chatting during our. I know for our audience, it's like 30 seconds while you watched our blueberry ad.
But for us, we've lived an entire lifetime.
Yeah.
I'm old now, darling.
You know what? This is totally off topic, but that reminded me of something. You know what I've been religious about?
Wow. What a pun
Yeah.
today. She came with a joke.
Near-death experiences.
Have you had one?
No! That's so funny.
Are you watching them on TikTok? What
On
is this?
TikTok, YouTube, podcast. I don't know why I get super high and I get into this K-hole of near-death experience videos. It's the weirdest thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you learned anything?
Yeah. There's life after death.
Ooh.
Oh.
And you know what's weird? Everybody has a very different experience when they have a near-death experience, but it's all kind of somewhat the same.
Huh.
It's really bizarrely interesting. And the fact that there are millions upon millions upon millions of people who have had them. Yeah, it's
Okay.
so weird,
Okay.
but fascinating. Because Eric knows I was obsessed with this Asian woman.
Which
Remember?
I did too. She was the best.
I get into these
Yeah.
things when I smoke weed, where I become this YouTube K-hole.
Oh, yeah.
And it was this Asian woman,
yeah.
no words through the whole videos.
Yeah.
She would just go around her farm and do stuff to
And
very nice, relaxing music.
Yeah, and then she like brings these things back into her house and makes this whole meal, and you watch her like wash everything, and
She
It's
you see
so
her go.
I already feel soothed by it.
yeah, it's
Just
beautifully
imagining
filmed.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, beautifully filmed. She
Yeah.
actually gets you see her have a chicken, lays the egg.
Yeah.
You wait for the egg to hatch. Oh, that was the funny one. Remember? You wait for the egg to hatch. She raises a chicken.
Wait.
Then you see her take the
You're
chicken.
watching YouTube videos of an egg hatching like that.
Yes, and then she takes the chicken off screen, and you hear the chop, and she comes back with a fully plucked chicken.
Yeah.
And makes a meal out of it.
Yeah.
Swear to God, it's
Yeah.
the best thing
And
ever.
then she's eating the noodles with
Oh
it.
my
And it's
God.
yeah.
Okay, my aunt and uncle have a farm in Minnesota, and when I was a kid, we went up there and stayed one summer. And they were like, "Do you want to do the chickens with us tonight?" And I was like, "I don't know what that means, but sure." And so they're like, "Okay, hold the chicken by its legs. We're gonna kill it for dinner." And I was like, "Okay."
Oh no!
And I steeled myself, and my uncle chops it off, and then the chicken's body keeps flapping and moving.
Yeah. So you
I
guys
was like,
absolutely.
"Demon chicken!" And I let it go and
Wait a
ran.
minute. No.
I let it go and ran, and it flew under the barn. And my uncle,
Without a head?
without a head, my uncle was so mad at me, and I was like, "Bitch, you're the one who invited City Boy up here and didn't tell me that the chicken still moves after it dies. So this
That
is on
amazing.
you."
That is amazing.
Yeah.
So it really is
Sorry.
chicken
Sorry,
running
animal
around like a
lovers.
chicken without a head.
With the
Yeah,
head cut off.
okay.
Yeah, no, that's a real thing.
Yeah, I guess that's where that
Sorry,
came
PETA.
from, huh?
Yeah.
Sorry, PETA.
Sorry, PETA. Sponsor us.
All right, so let's talk about the album. We
Let's
haven't
do it.
dived into the
Yeah.
album yet.
Let's do it.
So, Bible Bell Baby.
Baby back
Barbie
ribs.
backwards
Ribs,
ribs.
ribs.
Yes.
I'm gonna say this is a very singer-songwriter album, and it's very infused with a lot of gospel, folk, pop.
Yeah.
It's
Storytelling.
yes.
For sure.
I will
Yeah.
say this: you are an amazing storyteller,
Oh, thank
and
you.
I love your voice on this album because there are certain songs where I'm like, you can hear the heartbreak and pain. in
Yeah.
the voice is so good.
Thank
And I'm
you.
not just saying that, you guys. It's a very, very, very well put together album. Just like I love to go start from the beginning and listen to all of it. And there's always seems to be at least a couple songs I'm like,
Yeah.
this one I found myself listening to, and I'm like, I got down to Good Day, and I'm like, that's it? Did I listen to the whole
I
album?
did the same thing. I was like, this is fast.
Yeah.
This is too fast. There should have been more.
So I want to talk about my favorite songs on the album, which my first favorite one was Ruth, Esther, and Rehab. And so
Esther, Ruth, and
Rehab.
Rahab. But I do like Rehab.
That's how I
as
always
a rewrite.
was singing it in my head was Rehab.
That's for the remix.
Yeah, and I was like, let's put Rehab because after growing up religion, we all need rehab in a way.
Well, I didn't realize Rahab was such a deep cut because I've had like Christians come up to me and be like, "Who's Rahab?" And I was like, "I thought we all knew who Rahab was." So I guess that was just...
knew from growing up in the religion, and the fact that you made a song about, and in that song you even speak about Jezebel, which was for me growing up, that was the one like female in the Bible. For some reason, I was like, I would have been friends with Jezebel.
She's a badass. I mean, she's a bitch, but she's a badass. Bitch.
So I think this album for me really resonated with me was because I grew up in such a strict religion, and with the Bible and all of that. And I think for other gay people who are like us who grew up in religion, this is kind of a very tongue-in-cheek to our childhood and to kind of our formative years in a way. Do you know what I mean?
The gays, we always find our divas, right? Like we always have our, and for me, again, Amy Grant was mine, but also like I had spent every week with the Bible, and I got real tired of listening to Noah and Moses and David, you know, like it just gets old after a while. And there are so many fascinating women in the Bible. So it just made sense that I think I ended up gravitating towards those stories.
And I love that you did a song about that, because for me, the song was like, those were the stories I wanted to hear more about in the religion. People talk about it. And there was a line in the song that you say about the women having to wear the doilies on their head, and they never could hold like a place of power, and even like
voice.
They couldn't even speak. Literally, women couldn't even speak.
And your line about men being scared of a snatch, I was like, oh, this is brilliant! I love this.
The thing, so I've done that song several times now in like churches or like with kids around, and I can't do those lines. I can't say cock or snatch in front of kids or in the house of the Lord. So what I do is instead I say, I tell people beforehand that I'm going to substitute some emojis. So I just like say eggplant or rooster or kitty cat. I almost said pussy. I don't say pussy in church either.
But yeah, that song was probably like the one that, like, when I was listening to the album the first time, that was the one. Because I've listened to the album a lot. So when the first time through,
you're where all those Spotify streams came from.
I won't lie. It's probably as watch at the end of the year the Spotify
the Wrapped,
Yours probably going to be on there for me. I guarantee it.
I love it. If it does, you have to screenshot and send it
to me.
Going to do
that. But that song for me was the first one that popped out on the album when I would listen to it, because of the female point of view, and you trying to bring those stories that are in the Bible and those women in the Bible to the forefront.
I love that, because I really labored over that song. That was a hard song to write, and usually songs aren't that hard for me to write. They usually, I get the muse, I get inspired, whatever. But that one I had to work for. I had to wrestle it out, and I'm happy that it resonates. And it's also one of the few that on the album, not few, but about half of the songs were written like with Flamy in mind. The other songs are songs like I've made, like some of them I wrote 6-7 years ago, and I realized that they worked for this, for Flamy. They worked for drag, but not every song was written by me as Flamy, like,
I didn't know.
And that one was one. It was one of the ones I pulled out, and I was like, I really need a song on this record that is about my formative experiences and like why I'm a drag queen and why I'm doing this in drag. And so that song, is about that.
You want to hear a little bit of it?
Sure.
I want to, because I love this song. Let's see if it'll play it.
There's your folk right there.
In the church where I was raised, all the women hid their hair with what can only be called doilies made of lace.
That's true. The women had to wear doilies.
They sat beside their husbands and they never spoke a word. Public prayer was not a woman's place.
Sorry, gals, no speaking in church.
Literally, any man was welcome to stand up.
Everybody have
for an hour. We would listen to them
Cheers to Esther, Ruth, and Rahab.
And I guess the lesson there was God would only hear a prayer when it came from a person with a cock
or eggplant emoji.
It's
Yeah.
okay.
I have to shout out my producer real quick,
Yes.
Ben Grace, because none of this would have happened without him. And the reason the album is as good as it is, and I do think it's good, and I'm proud of it. I stand
You
behind
should
it.
be very proud
but
of it.
it's so much thanks to
Yeah.
to Ben Grace and what he did with my songs. Like he just elevated them so much.
Yeah.
So if you like my record, go check out Story and Tune as well, because that's Ben's band, and they do an
nice.
amazing job
Okay.
as well. So
Yeah.
Yeah, who? And you had some other people come and do vocals on this album.
Yeah.
Oh, I got lucky. So now these names might not be names that resonate with your audience,
Yeah.
but in for folks who grew up in the Christian world, like these are big names. I got Jennifer Knapp on the record, who was a Christian music superstar in late 90s, early 2000s. Like it didn't get much bigger than Jennifer Knapp. She was opening for bands like Third Day and like other major Christian acts. And she came out a few years ago. She actually went off the grid for a long time.
Yeah.
Like I can't even remember how long. She literally moved to Australia with her partner. Didn't tell nobody knew that she was queer. And then came back a few years ago and came out on Larry King Live and now does amazing work in this kind of the same spaces I work in. And we had her on my podcast a few years ago, and I just
Heathens, which we didn't even cover. Flamey
Oh, yeah,
had her own podcast called Heathens that I used to listen to, and I really liked the premise of the show. But you guys haven't done an episode in forever.
we haven't. We've not. I hope Heathen will come back.
I did.
do.
I really enjoyed
Yeah,
that show.
I think it'll come back in like a new format, but we just haven't touched it.
So
in a
Jennifer
minute.
Knapp and the girl rapper, they did "I'm Not Ashamed,"
Yep.
the song "I'm Not Ashamed."
That's right.
How did that song come about?
Well, that's one of the ones I wrote for my last church. We used to sing that in church, and I remember when I wrote it, I was like, I want to do something bluesy, and I wanted to write something that specifically for the queer people in our church, where we could sing it, loud and proud, and be like, I am not ashamed, and that's a big. That I am not ashamed is like a verse, or I don't even know if it's a verse. I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ. I think that is a Bible verse. That I grew up with, and I was like, I want to reclaim that a little bit and say, like, no, I'm not ashamed of who I am in this place. Like, and I'm entitled to be here. I deserve to be here. I belong here.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
So
having Jennifer on that is just mind blowing to me. I can't believe she said yes.
I can get to her.
So that's Jennifer singing the harmony.
And then girl rapper.
Spits her rhymes. It still gives me tingles that I'm singing with one of my. Because I loved Jennifer now. I went and saw her. I paid a lot of money to see.
Oh God, I love it. Yeah. And then you have the guitar come in. It's very bluesy, that one. I love that.
Yeah.
I could go through like almost every song is my favorite. But one of the ones I wanted to ask you where it came from was Desire of the Heart, because that's one of my favorite songs on the album. And it seems like a very personal song. So how did Desire of the Heart come about? Like what is it based off of?
Okay, so I started Desire of Your Heart in 2016. I started it.
Oh, wow.
I was doing a challenge. It was like 100 days of creativity or something, where you post something online, and I was trying to write not a full song every day, but like a lyric or a whatever. And I wrote, I think, the first 2 verses and posted them, and they're still on my Instagram account. Well, my old Instagram account from years ago, and I never finished writing it. And I tried several times. I remember I came back to that song and I was like, I really like this. I feel like there's a song here. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And I just could never write it until we started recording this album. And I went back and looked at it kind of through the lens of Flamy and through drag and through what Flamy is for me. Because so much of what drag is for me is actually inner child work. It's actually going back to the kid who was like stomp around in his mom's high heels and get in trouble for like ruining her lipstick tube, and telling that kid that you're okay, you're loved. Like what everyone is telling you about yourself is a lie. Like you are good, and your impulses to paint your face and like stomp around in gowns and things like that. Like that's all good, baby.
Yeah.
So that's what so much of my drag is for me, and that's why when you brought it up, I was like, oh, okay, here we go.
I love that song on the album.
It's inner
so
child
good.
work for me, and so I wrote the second half of that song, as Flamy singing to young Matthew, basically. It's that moment in Drag Race where RuPaul holds up the...
That's what I was wondering when I was listening, especially this last week, because I listened to the album a lot. And then I have my favorite songs on my playlist. That one came up, and I was like, I need to ask Flamy if that was like her RuPaul moment.
It is. I mean, that's not what inspired it, but it is very that. It's RuPaul being like, Flamy Grant, what would you say to young Matthew? It's that. It's exactly that.
Okay, we're going to, I want to play a little bit of, hopefully, where is it at? Let's see if it'll play.
It's got a nice little slow start.
Yeah, such a good song.
It's definitely the softest, song on the record, and intentionally, like it's meant to be.
It sounds like when you recorded it, vocally it's so emotional.
Pretty raw. How many stormy skies moved in a time-lapse picture as you let the rain mask your tears.
It's a good song.
It was very emotional to record this one.
You can hear it in the voice and the vocals, especially towards the second half of the song. It's so good.
How many names did they give you before we finally drove out of the county, drove away from the only town we knew?
Oh, it's so good. I love that song. Okay, Eric, I want to know what are some of your favorite ones on that.
Okay,
on the
so
album.
the one about the women empowerment was
Yes.
just that was such a surprise of a song, and I really love that it has its ups and its downs. It's like there's moments where you're kind of giggling and moments where you're kind of mad too, and I love
It really
that.
has all of it, right?
Yeah.
You kind of get, because you can't talk about this stuff without getting a little bit pissed at the patriarchy.
Yeah.
And then you also want to bring some levity to it because you're a drag queen.
Yeah.
But then also there's a message to it, which is kind of where it ends.
Yeah.
With the whole it's a good thing when a girl learns how to fly.
Yeah, and the viewpoint of it was just I've never thought about the Bible from that viewpoint,
from the female point of view.
Yeah, and it's really beautiful and unexpected.
I love
the
lyric in it when you talk about Moses because he's petty.
Moses was petty as fuck. Are you kidding me? Like, go reread the Torah and Moses' nonsense. He was so petty. And the only reason the Israelites made it through the wilderness of 40 years is because Miriam was there to slap some sense into him.
You're like, bitch. Calm your nerves.
Yeah.
What other ones?
The other one, and I have to read it because I cannot remember anything in my 40s. Which is what did you drag me into the first song? Because it really,
I know, yes,
it really sets you up like
for the album.
And
really does.
Why everything is here, why you're telling this album. And it was just I don't know, I just felt very connected to it when I heard it. It was like, oh, I understand everything, what this is going to be.
And that is the perfect way to explain that song because it's the beginning of the album and it sets you up for what the journey you're going to take when you listen to Flamy's album.
The purpose of the album. It's really well done to start with that song.
So we have Keith Urban's drummer is drumming on this.
Are you serious? Oh, that's awesome.
Again, my producer just has the best connection.
Lost in the cover of a magazine.
Bible Belt, baby.
Wanna be a queen. Lord, mama tried to keep a little boy clean. She found him with her high heels on, a 2-foot train of green chiffon. That messy lip was overdrawn. It was shocking and obscene. Mama knows that she's been blessed, and she's always done her best to cheer.
One of the websites that reviewed the record called it a country disco track, which I liked.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, country disco. I like that.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
I could see that. Yeah.
One of my absolute favorite on the album is Take a Chance on Me. I was like, did she write this about me? It is such a fun song, and it comes at the perfect part of the album
When
because
you need a
just
break.
get done with Desire of the Heart,
Yeah.
which really is an emotional song, and then you got this tongue-in-cheek,
Yeah.
very fun song is right after it.
Yeah.
When did you write that song?
I wrote it a while ago. I
Okay.
wrote it. It was kind of like about dating and like how it's so exhausting to date, and you meet people and you put your best foot forward for a while, but eventually they're gonna find all your red flags and all your flaws. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna write a song that puts all my red flags out there in the front, and now they can make a decision.
It made me chuckle. I like the line when you say that you're always hungry and you're hungry right now.
Right now, bitch. I am. I'm hungry right now. Like, as soon as we finish this, I'm gonna go get some food.
I gotta play it.
Yeah.
I love this song. It made me laugh.
Yeah.
It worked for a drag queen too, I thought.
Oh, it's
so.
perfect.
Yes.
Let me tell you honestly that I do tell lies. There's nobody I hate and just a few I despise.
The artist
you.
in tweet RSVP line.
Yes.
I was like, I so do that.
That is you, Tony.
I feel like that's all of San Diego. Like, people do not RSVP.
No.
True.
But I'll say
I
maybe.
got the demeanor of a goddamn saint. I'm happy to help out until I suddenly ain't.
Exactly.
I never act ugly unless I get hungry. And let's face it, I am hungry every second of the day.
And because
Kinda hungry right now.
I'm representing for the big girls. Come on. We're always hungry. We're
You'll
always
never
hungry.
find someone who's most of repairs. You're
that's the
feeling
line. That's
just
the
a
part.
little
Perfect.
worse.
This lyric right here, I love.
I could be everything you're dreaming of. If all of your dreams are nightmares. Ask anyone, they'll say I'm the perfect catch. If you like making lots of repairs.
I love that line of the
Just a little.
song. It's a good song. It's
Thank
like comes
you.
at the perfect part of the album
Yeah,
too.
I felt like we needed a breath of
Yeah.
fresh air right there because it's like 3 pretty heavy songs.
Yeah, because you come from
Yeah.
Holy Ground, which is another very emotional song.
Yeah.
Where did that one come from?
That one is an older one that I wrote. Did I fully write that? Yeah, I fully wrote that before Flamy existed.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit about my upbringing. And the Holy Ground concept is like, obviously Moses and the burning bush is the story behind that. But for me, it was like I grew up in the Bible Belt.
Yeah.
And, it's about kind of connecting with nature. And at the end of the day, I feel like it kind of was me. So this is the story I tell about it. Y'all know how like inner child work is like going back and talking to our younger selves, right? Well, I think sometimes about what if like our senior selves are coming back and talking to us right now.
Oh,
Like inner middle aged work.
Yeah, in her middle age.
So I feel like this was me going back. I feel like it was kind of me of now going back to myself of 6 or 7 years ago and telling me about doing mushrooms.
Okay, I was gonna ask you
and that's kind of the way we recorded it.
Yeah.
Like Ben wanted to cut off the end way sooner than we did,
And
I was
Ben
like,
is
no,
the
no,
producer, right?
Ben's my producer,
Yes.
and I was like, Ben, no, this has to go on much longer because people are going to be tripping when they listen to this song, and I need them to be able to have their full experience.
I'm gonna tell you this.
It's my mushroom song.
You don't know how many times I have put this album on, been stoned out of my mind.
So I was just thinking, I really want to do that like next.
Yeah,
I really want.
I have when I'm preparing for like our shows and I'm writing our notes or I'm doing my editing. This album has been on the back when I'm stoned. It's so good.
Good. I hope it enhances. I hope
Yeah.
that Bible Belt Baby enhances your trip.
Let's hear
that's my gift to
Holy
you.
Ground, because I love this song. And it's another it's a very folky.
Yeah, this is my
sounding.
favorite one on the.
Do you play guitar? Did you play
Yeah,
guitar
this
for
is
it?
me on guitar. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's my favorite track on the record.
The other thing I gotta say about the album, the arrangements are so good for the songs. Like
Fire has gone wholly dark. It has burned its final spark.
Can't you just like? Picture being in a field listening to this while you're watching the clouds change shapes. Like,
I would live here if I could.
I have sat out on the balcony out here and listened to this while I'm doing my editing and stuff. It's so good.
The moss beneath my head. I'd spend my days
and the percussionist, the percussionist, his name's Noah Heldman. He's local here in San Diego, and the percussion on that is my favorite.
Yeah, the arrangements on the whole album are so good. Like I was saying before, it's really, really good.
Ben Grace, we owe it all to Ben.
I think for our listeners, like you need to hear it with headphones, because even hearing it now with headphones is a different experience. Because I was listening on speakers, and I'm like, ooh, I got to do it again with headphones.
There's a lot of nuance.
What is your process when it comes to writing a song?
Usually I kind of work in tandem. Like I have a spark of an idea lyrically that I pull out my guitar and I find something that works with that lyric. So I'm usually writing lyrics along with the music, but sometimes I will have just like I've written a guitar riff and I'm like, I really need words for this, or vice versa. Actually, less frequently I will write a lyric and then try to put it to music. Actually, almost never. Esther, Ruth, and Rahab though, I did that. I wrote the Esther, Ruth, and Rahab as a lyric with no music to it, and then I put it to music.
Did you study music in school at all? Or?
A little bit. Okay. I took some music theory in college. At one point, I was going to be a music major, and then I was a theater major, and then I was a French major, and I just could never make up my mind. So I studied a little theory in college, and I've just been singing in church my whole life. So, and my mom's a singer.
Were you in choir and everything?
I was in choir.
The gays always love choir.
We were in choir. Absolutely.
So I want to ask you how did Take a Little Time, because that's another song I really love on it.
That's the Amy Grant cover, right?
That's what I thought. Yes, right.
That's an Amy Grant song, and I was like, I have to have an Amy Grant cover on here, and that song was just perfect. It fits perfectly with the whole theme of the album because. If you know that song, it was a big hit for her in 97 or 98.
But you do a little bit of a different take on it.
We changed it big time. Yeah. And my friend Semler sings on that one with me. Semler is the first out artist to ever have a #1 album on the Christian charts.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And they pissed off a lot of people when that happened. But it just we took it way down because Amy Grant's version is a big loud folky.
I will be honest. I was like listening. I'm like, this sounds very familiar, but I couldn't place it until you just said it.
We took it way down because
I'm gonna play a little bit.
It's. I love this arrangement. But I wanted people to feel that, like, the truth of that, like, hey, it took me 20 years to process all this trauma. Like, it's going to take you a little time.
It takes a little time,
Such a good job with this cover.
Well, thank you, Amy Grant, for writing the perfect lyric.
Takes a little time sometimes.
Okay, that's how we can play for
to get the
copyright.
Titanic turned back.
Okay,
I paid for the we're covered. We're good.
The last one I want to talk about is what probably the whole album I love, but one of my favorite songs is Good Day.
Oh, wow.
It's such a good song, and it's a great way to end the album.
Yeah.
Where did that, because that's another one that sounds very personal.
Yeah.
And I'm curious if what you wrote it for is what, as a listener, thinking of what it means in my head.
I'm interested to hear. So maybe you should go first.
Okay.
You go first.
I feel like the song is maybe about your parents or your dad or going back home and like kind of, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Kind of a vibe. Do you know what I mean?
In a way, yes.
Okay.
So the story behind this song is, by the way, can I just say, I love that we're like spending time going into the song. I never get to do that.
Okay, I didn't know if that was going to be weird
I
is this
do
going to be lame? But I love the album, so I wanted to know what the song.
I really appreciate it. I love it. I love it. So this one, I wrote after. This was like. I was at, we talked about the journey of how long it takes to like become okay with yourself being queer. At this point, I think I was like out. I was definitely out and I was cool with being queer, but I was still maybe a little like struggling with it. I don't know. But I was going to a church that was progressive.
Okay.
And I went to a queer small group. I don't. It's like a Bible study, but just for queer people. So I went reluctantly. I was like, ugh, I don't know. I got dragged by a friend, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Ha ha ha. Dragged by a friend. And I got there, and the facilitator of this small group. It was like, okay, well, we're going to go around the circle and everyone's going to tell the story of how you reconciled your faith and your sexuality as the icebreaker, right? I'm like, wow.
That's a heavy icebreaker.
Bitch, okay, we're just going to go right in.
Yeah, what about if you're still doing that?
I know,
what if
right?
you're literally in the process.
So I was just like, I raised my hand. I was the first one. I was like, I'm going to get this over with and whatever. And I was like, well, I don't have to reconcile it because I'm no longer a Christian and I don't claim that name and there's nothing to reconcile and everything's just fine and dandy.
Yeah.
Next, and so then, and I was, so proud of myself for saying that. And then we went around the room, and every single person in that room had something to say about why they were still sticking around in their church or in their faith or whatever.
Oh, interesting.
And it all had to do with the fact, like everybody had their own story, obviously, but it was some version of like, look, I know that if I just completely vacate this space and leave, I'm going to leave this little vacuum and a void that's going to be filled with more homophobia, more, I know that it's not going to make it easier for the next generation, right? And so one of the reasons I stay is because I know there are still queer kids growing up who don't have anybody to look up to, and I can at least I can be that person for them. And so after hearing everybody else say that, I felt about this big, I was like, oh my God. So I literally went home, and this is one of those songs that, songwriter, it's like a cliche for songwriters to say like, oh, it was just gifted to me or whatever. But I truly like put pen to paper and like don't remember what happened, and then like woke up and there was a song there.
I will tell you, as a visual artist, when I paint, I have had some of my best pieces when I used to do it a lot and sell and do shows have been those moments when you kind of, I don't want to say black out, but it just kind of comes. And then you kind of wake up from it after it's done. And you're like, did that really just come out of my hands?
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
It was that experience.
Yeah.
But it is, the message of it is, it's kind of what you're talking about to my parents, but it was also to the whole church. And it's like, no. Y'all fucking have it wrong. Queer people belong here. We're going to claim our space here. Not everybody. And that's the thing about like religious deconstruction. Some people need to get some of y'all need to get the fuck out of church, okay? Because it's bad for you and it's not going to go anywhere good for you. Yeah. But for a handful of people, I think there are some people, and I think I might be one of them, we can keep a foot in the door, we can stay in the pew, and we can be there for those kids who are still coming up, because it's fucking hard.
It's hard,
y'all.
yeah. It really
and
is.
I had no idea the number of options that were available to me as a human in the world. I did not know drag was an option. Yeah. And if I had known, if I had been nurtured as a kid who wanted to play with my mom's lipstick instead of like having it slapped out of my hand, my life could have been radically different. Yeah. It could have been like so much of the pain and trauma I've had to process to get to where I am. Like I could have just bystepped all of that.
It's so true.
And that's what I hope that, and I know that like, conservatives aren't like giving my album to their kids, but I hope by being there and by being a presence in some way, kids can find me, see a drag queen who's like in this spiritual sphere space, and know that they're okay and they're loved and they're good. And you might have to spend a few years with some parents who are going to make it hard for you, or a community or a church that's going to make it hard for you. But baby, you're going to make it through. You're going to be okay. And we're here for you.
Exactly. Because you never know. Maybe that one friend listens to our show and go, you know what? I know this album is going to be perfect for this one person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And especially with the climate that we're in now, it feels like kids, when it comes to the conservative side, I think they're doubling down.
Yeah.
Doubling down.
Yeah. They're using kids as their scapegoat to say that everything we do is dirty and it's all sex.
I hate when
and
they
it's all
say like it's grooming, it's grooming.
Right.
It's not.
Y'all are the groomers. Are you kidding me? I was groomed. You literally made you literally made me believe I was a piece of shit and that Jesus needed to save me for me to have any worth whatsoever. Y'all groomed that in me. That's not true about me. I'm holy, baby. I'm good. And y'all groomed me to believe that about myself.
I think
projection, mama.
It's so true. Coming from a religious background, I'm like, how can you say We're not groomers, but that's what you did.
Right.
I know, it's so frustrating.
It's so
It is.
frustrating.
But I want to listen to a little bit of Good Day because I love this song.
Oh, and this one has Derek Webb, by the way, who is another former contemporary Christian music artist. Big band back in the day, Caveman's Call. And he's now an awesome ally, awesome advocate.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
He came on this song with me.
You got real talented people.
It's been a while since I sat with you without a knot in my chest, though. It's been a while since I wanted to. I always felt a
when the chorus
little
kicks in.
oppressed. Oh, it's been a while.
Yeah, so that's pretty much me singing to the church and being like, listen,
It
y'all.
felt like the song was about going back home.
And it is, because that church was home.
It's home, yeah.
And let down my guard, 'cause I carry the weight of the words you said. That makes it just a little bit hard to reject the lies you perpetuate. But you're not the keeper of the pearly gates.
Love that line.
It's been a while, but I'm coming back to fight for my place. A good day to come back home. You sent me away, but I was never alone. You were afraid there was not enough, but you can't run out of love. So I'm here to stay.
Yeah, I see why you.
Oh, I love that song.
I see why you would think it's about parents, because it's
Yeah.
the same story. Like,
Yeah.
how many queer kids have been kicked out of their homes by parents? And
How is your relationship now with your parents?
you know, it's so with mom. We're good. Mom is she still goes to the church I grew up in. She still, I think, ultimately believes all the things that she believed. But she has, unlike most evangelicals, she's been able to look at it and be like, what's important is my relationship with my kids.
Oh my God, that's exactly what my mom's still a Jehovah's Witness, but she got a lot of flack from the religion. She's like, fucking no, these are my kids. I'm gonna love them till the day I die.
Exactly.
You
And
know.
so I think that is a wonderful thing, and we should celebrate when we have parents who do that.
Exactly.
Like, you know, and it's taken my mom a while to get
it took
there.
my mom a very long
My mom
while.
the same way. Yeah,
Yeah,
Catholic,
exactly.
same way.
Rosemary, who listens to our show.
Oh, hi, Rosemary.
But it's got
Susan my mom Susan probably won't, but you
Oh,
know,
you want-
maybe
my-
one day, Mom, if you listen to this.
My
I
mom
love
has
you.
gotten so comfortable with it. When she was living in San Diego, she would go to Moe's and not invite me because she's like, I love the hamburgers. And I was there one time with my friend
They
Dwayne.
do have a good burger.
And I'm texting my mom. I'm like, Ma, where are you? And she's like, I'm at Moe's with my friend Bonnie. I'm like, what are you doing at Moe's? She's like, I wanted a hamburger and a drink. And I'm like, you didn't invite me? And she's like, I didn't want to invite you. And she was literally there at the same time I
Oh my
was.
God, that's
I was
hilarious.
outside in the outside patio, and she was inside holding court with everybody.
That's
and I was
so
like, God
funny.
damn
I
it,
love
mother.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's to the moms who
Right?
come a long way.
Moms
But I-
always figure it out.
Yeah,
some
moms
way.
figured out before the dads
Yeah.
do. My dad is still, we're not there yet, but
Yeah.
Someday. Hopefully.
someday. We'll
Yeah,
see.
dads are rough.
I love the album, as you can tell.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm so honored, seriously, to sit here and talk about it with y'all. This means
yay,
a lot.
good.
Thank you.
And I actually went to the website today and I was like, oh, she has it on vinyl. And
do.
I know because
I'm
I
gonna
have
give you
play,
one. I'm gonna give you
I
one.
play. I have my record. I was like, I'm getting it on vinyl.
Don't
and
buy
it's
it. I'm gonna
pink.
give you one. Okay,
Yes,
it's coming
so,
to you.
I was like, she has it on vinyl. I was so excited when
It
I
is.
saw that.
It's pink vine. Y'all out there, you can buy it, but it is. It's gorgeous though. My friend Grace Johnson did all the design work. I love the
it looks
design.
so
And
cool.
yeah, I was like, if I'm gonna get vinyl, bitch, we're
Yeah.
going all the way. It's gonna be pink.
I think the album is super important, and I think it's
Yes.
it's gonna resonate with so many people who grew up like us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I hope
no
so.
matter at what stage of the journey you guys are in with it, or our listeners, I think you're gonna find a song that's gonna resonate with you,
Yeah.
and kind of feel seen in a way. That when I
Yeah.
listened to it, I was like, "Oh my God, this is why I'm relating to this
Yeah.
album so
And,
hard." It's because
and
it's
you
like,
can, you can laugh, you can
Yeah.
smile, you can get angry, you can have resentment. Like you can go through all the stages
Exactly.
with you along with it, which is nice.
It's an emotional journey.
yeah, yeah, it
It's-
really is.
It's really good. I
Yeah.
can't
Thank you.
say it enough.
Thank you.
What is okay? I got
Stop.
I got a question. What is the next album gonna be like? What is your dream like? What's in the works?
God,
What
I have
albums
so
you wanna
many
do?
dreams. So I do want to write. I want to write a musical, like that's for sure.
Ooh.
But that's like
God.
I feel like we're a few years from that. But
But
that's
what would it even be based about?
it'll be like a heathen musical.
Yeah.
It'll be about it'll be like Book of Mormon, like but for evangelicals. Like it'll be
needed too.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Needed. Yeah.
So I want to write that, and
Drag queen
there'll be a
comes
drag
back
queen
in-
in it, obviously.
And goes back to church and becomes a priest.
Yeah, write something like it'll be
That would be
insane.
amazing.
Shocking.
Yes, I love
What
it.
other like would you want to dip your toe in as far as musically?
Well, I mean, I just want to keep making music, and I do. So we are working on some new songs, an EP, not a full length album, but a shorter EP right now, 3 or 4 songs that are gonna break a little bit from the folky genre.
Okay.
We're gonna do maybe a little more of an electronic thing. I think.
Because the
Yeah.
girl boy, you guys,
Yes, exactly.
you
Yeah,
guys
yeah,
did
yeah.
more of a. It was more poppy.
We called it pop hop because she raps, so we would call it. So yeah, it'll be a little. It's not going to be like I'll never be one of these drag queens who drops a diss
dance,
track or a dance track or anything like that. Like that's just not me. Obviously,
You know what? I
but-
want somebody to take Bible Belt baby songs and do like club remixes.
mixes?
Yeah. I was actually thinking
from
that-
your
yeah.
mouth to the public's ears.
Yeah,
like, that would be
I want to go to Rich's one night,
But like,
and hear Esther Root.
but like that, like
Can you imagine
2090s,
that coming on and it's like a
Yeah.
like
club?
Did they just sing a line about Miriam and Moses? Like what the hell?
Jezebel.
It's like
Jezebel?
the Chris Cox remix of that.
Yes.
That's what it needs.
Yes.
Oh
Yeah,
my God,
this
that would be
2000
amazing.
dance remix.
Very that.
It needs
Very
that.
I'm open to it. If somebody wants to take that on.
So besides Amy Grant, what are some of your other like go-to musical influences?
Well, it's probably a lot of people that no one's ever heard of, but my favorite. Well, okay, let's try to.
You
pick
never
some.
know.
Natalie
I'll never
Merchant is one of
Yes.
my all-time
Love
faves.
Natalie Merchant.
Love Natalie
When she
Merchant.
came out by herself after
Yes.
10,000 Maniacs.
Tiger Lily, that
Tiger
record
Lily was amazing.
changed my life.
Yes,
changed
it
my
was
life.
so
Love that
freaking
record.
good.
I would. I'd shit my pants to do a duet with Natalie Merchant one day. That would be amazing.
And even her Ophelia album was great.
Ophelia was great, and she
Yeah.
just dropped a new one. Actually, I can't remember what it's called, but it's a whole bunch of duets.
Yeah.
She's really good. She's still making amazing music.
God, I was so about that. Now that you brought it out, it's bringing me back. I was so about that Tiger Lily album and 10,000 Mountains. It was so good.
It's the one that had like Wonder on. They say I must be one of the wonders, God's own creation. Yeah, like
Yes, I
there's
loved
some bangers on it. There's some Lilith Fair bangers on it.
Okay, who else?
Over the Rhine is probably my favorite band, and they're a married couple out of Cincinnati area in Ohio, and they're just go listen to Over the Rhine. You'll love them. Seriously, if you like my record, you will love Over the Rhine because they're probably
Great.
my biggest influence. I don't know. I love singer-songwriters. Like, that's my thing. I just love people. I actually just got back from Kerrville Folk Festival in Texas, where I won the New Folk competition.
In Texas?
In Texas, bitch. Yeah. So it's this weird little utopian folk festival that springs up every spring in the middle of Texas. It's been going on for 50 years.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty prestigious little songwriting competition, and I was one of the winners.
Oh,
So it makes up for losing the San Diego Music
one.
Awards.
Are
you hear that, San Diego?
Are you going to go on tour with the album?
Absolutely, yeah. So I've done some. We did a West Coast tour earlier this year, and last winter, November, December, I did my very first tour ever was as Flamy was a Bible Belt Baby tour.
Yeah.
I mean a Bible Belt tour. So I went to North Carolina, Tennessee, and Georgia.
Oh shit! How was that?
Yeah, how was that
performing
received?
in drag?
Yeah, it was. I was a little worried about it because things were really ramping up at that time with all the anti-drag shit.
Yeah.
And there was one small town, Western North Carolina. I played a show in Bryson City, and there were people who got wind of it on Facebook.
Yeah.
And so there was all these people on Facebook who were like saying, no, not in our town. The drag queen coming to our town. Oh, hell no. But it was a church that was hosting me.
Okay.
So a really great progressive church called
Yeah.
The Grove. And actually, they have a documentary out about their church called The Grove, and I would highly recommend that. But anyway, no one ended up being there to protest, thankfully. But I was worried about it for a second. But honestly, the reception was so great across the board, and it's kind of part of why. So Chris and I are moving back to North Carolina this fall, which
is going to be
a bittersweet thing,
a big loss for San Diego.
I still wake up most mornings and I'm like, am I making the worst mistake of my life?
If anything, it's wait till the next album, you guys. It's going
know.
to be about going home. It's going to give you material.
Yeah. So, but that was part of what made me feel okay about it, because the reception was so good. People were so hungry, I think, for a drag queen singing about this. That's what I found. It's like people don't know who I am, but the second they do, they're like, oh my God. Like,
it's true.
I didn't know I wanted a drag queen to be singing about religious trauma.
It is. It's true.
Yeah,
it's really true.
I agree.
Yes. It feels like there is definitely a market for it right now.
Yeah.
And you're kind of the only one doing it.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, come along, girls. Let's do it. Like let's heal this world. Let's write music and
God, that's what we need right now.
Give people what they need. Yeah. There's a whole host of 90s Christian artists that we can make drag names out of. Sandy Patty and Sandy Patty is kind of already a drag name.
It really is.
You don't need to change it, but there's a whole market here that's untapped. Let's go. Come on.
Exactly. But it will be sad when you leave San Diego.
Yeah, but I'm going to be back frequently. Like San Diego is where I found out who I am, became myself, found my husband. Flamy Grant was born here. Girl Boy was born. Like, I am so tied to this community. Yeah. The drag scene here has been so good to me. Like,
drag scene's good. I love that we run under the radar compared to because we're so close to LA and stuff, and we have a lot of really talented drag in San Diego.
Really talented and just awesome girls who just like took me under their wing. We were talking about Nadia earlier.
Yeah, Nadia.
She was at my very first drag show was Cabaret Brunch at Gossip, and she was hosting that day, and she just like comforted me and was like, "It's okay, baby, like you got this," because I was nervous as fuck, right? And then like recently she came to me and she said, when I met you, you called yourself a baby queen and you had a quarantine queen or whatever, and she's like, baby, you're a queen now. And that meant a lot to me to hear from her. So there's good people here.
So to wrap it up, what would your advice be if there is a young person out there, or even not a young person, who grew up the way we did and feel kind of hopeless with the climate that we are in right now? What advice would you give them? Yeah,
I know how scary it looks right now. I'm scared too. I try to stay off the news when I can. Like, you have to be engaged and you have to know what's going on, but I try not to doom scroll, because it is scary and it can get into your bones. It can get into your spirit and make you think that fuck, we are fucked. Like, the world is against us, and that's just not true, okay? And I know it feels that way, especially if you were growing up in a super conservative space, a super religious space, if you have parents who don't understand you, if you haven't found gay friends yet. I didn't have my first gay friend until I was mid-20s. I just hold on, okay? Just hold on. And what is great about the world now is that we have access to so many things that I didn't have growing up. The internet has just blown wide open access to each other. So we're here for you. There are people out here who are here for you. And slide into my DMs. If at the end of the day, if you have to, if there's nobody else you can talk to, slide into my DMs. I'll answer, baby, okay? And you're gonna be okay. Like, you will make it through, and you're gonna find your people, and we're waiting for you, and we're here to cheer you on, okay?
Exactly.
I love that.
I love that. It has been like so much fun having you here.
I've loved every second of it. Thank you.
Oh, it's been such a good episode. I'm so glad you finally made it on our
This was such a bucket list thing for me. Like, it's before leaving San Diego, I was like, I really want to be on Who Invited Her. So
yay! I'm so happy you did.
Thank you for having me.
How do people find you, Eric?
You can find me on Instagram at DaddyBearEric.
There you go. And Flamy, give them all of your deets. How do they find you? How do they find the album? Your tours, all of that.
Yes. You can. I'm the only Flamy Grant in the world, so you can just search that. But all my social medias are at Flamy Grant. The album is Bible Belt Baby. It's on Apple, Spotify, everywhere.
And we'll have a link on our website too. So
and I've got a lot of shows coming up. So check my website for shows. I'm going to the Bay Area. I'm headlining Blount County Pride in East Tennessee later this year.
Like Blount County?
It's spelled the same way too.
That is amazing.
Come on. East Tennessee, come on.
Yeah, and right there, you can get Flamy's information right there. You can follow the show. It is Who Invited Her _podcast on Instagram. How do I not know this?
I know.
You can follow me at Sony_Baloney_Macaroni on Instagram. We are Who Invited Her ST on Facebook and Twitter. Don't forget, you can email us at the gang at whoinvitedher.net.
Do you need help?
Yes.
Email us at the gang.
Yeah, the
Yes.
gang.
We'll see you at the gang bang.
It is Pride Month.
We've never made that joke.
I know. We never made that
It's been
joke.
sitting there for
Until Flamy
6
came
years.
on. Oh my
Never
God.
made that joke.
If you guys are watching us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, that notification button. And I think I want to leave the show with a little good day.
Oh, I love that. It's like old school where we play a song at the end.
Remember we used to do that?
Yeah.
But then we had our fans love our
Yes.
closing song. So I thought this is perfect.
I love it.
Thank you, Flamy.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you
It's
so
been
much.
an absolute joy.
Yes.
And you guys, we will see you all next week. Bye.
It's been a while since I sat with you without a knot in my chest, though. It's been a while since I wanted to. I always felt a little oppressed, oh.